Welcome back to the Wardrobe Well. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to start collecting Sylvaneth. If you were unaware, Sylvaneth is my main army, so I have a lot of experience and a lot of thoughts on the best ways to collect Sylvaneth, as well as the best ways to move forward with a Sylvaneth army. So hopefully I will provide some insight to help new players or anyone interested in Sylvaneth. Without further ado, let's get started. So, Sylvaneth has access to one of the better start collecting boxes out there. Their start collecting box is a fantastic box, mostly because it provides you with a lot of the core units for Sylvaneth. By picking up two boxes, you will complete the core of your army and have a few fun pieces to play with at a heavy discount. So for starters, I recommend two start collecting boxes. In that, you will get two branch wraiths, one of which I recommend you convert or proxy as a branch wraith. So the only reason that I recommend doing this is A, you'll get two of them in the box, and the branch wraith kit is a resin kit. It's not a very good kit. Um, and you can do a lot with a branch witch kit. There's a few good ideas out there. You'll also get two tree lords of any variant. Personally, if you are just starting out, I think that the Tree Lord Ancient and the Spirit of Durthu are probably your best picks because they will be a leader slot for you. The Tree Lord is a very good behemoth and he's a great unit to have, but if you're just starting out, I recommend getting the Tree Lord Ancient and the Spirit of Durthu. The Spirit of Durthu is definitely probably the best of the three, but that is a personal preference choice. And lastly, you will get 32 Dryads. So this is more just kind of a little random fact. The reason that you get 32 Dryads is because these Dryads are kind of ported in from fantasy. And so the old fantasy kits came with 16 Dryads per box. So just a little bit of a fun fact. But I think that the fact that it does come with 16 is great because if you get two start collecting boxes, you end up with 32. So that lets you field a squad of 30 if you really want that, or what I recommend is field a squad of 20 and have 12 off in the side to summon with your branch wraith. I think that this is the best way to run this combination of start collecting box models because you have your dryads, your 20 blob of dryads that you can send in to do whatever you want, and then you have your 10 dryads that you can summon. And if your first unit starts getting destroyed, those dryads go back into your pool that you can summon, and so on and so forth. I think it's a good amount of dryads to have. Some people like more. I personally can't stand painting lots of hordes of small infantry models, so I stick with just 32, but you can definitely get more dryads if you want. So after you get your start collecting box, the unfortunate aspect of Sylvaneth is that they rely incredibly heavy on their fraction terrain to actually function. So for most games, I'm going to recommend you need 3 sets of Wildwoods. Maybe more if you really like putting down Wildwoods, maybe less if you have a very tightly packed board, but 3 I think is the magic number. I cannot express how important Wildwoods are to Sylvaneth. Getting Wildwoods on the board and playing around them is your key to victory. I had a game against one of my friends who plays Nurgle, and we recently did a game where he got to test out his new battle tome, and I was just playing Sylvaneth. I got incredibly unlucky with my casting rolls, and I didn't have a Vespid gem or a Tree Lord Ancient to guarantee my Wildwood drops, so I was just kind of rolling dice and I was incredibly unlucky. I didn't get any Wildwoods on the board after my starting one until turn 4, and because of that, I was incredibly crippled in my movement, in my abilities, and just generally I was not able to perform at any level. And so, obviously, Nurgle won. It was a close game, and I definitely felt that if I had put the Wildwoods down, it would have been a little bit more likely that Sylvaneth would have won that game. But regardless, Wildwoods are massively important. I think that wildwood placement and learning to play around your wildwoods is the number one best way to get better at Sylvaneth. Before I move on to how to expand your Sylvaneth collection, I would like to give a thanks to our Patreon supporters. Our Patreon allows me to continue making videos at a bi-daily rate, and it is kind of crazy to me that the channel has garnered so much support that I have a Patreon. So if you want to support me and kind of allow me to continue to make these videos, please consider joining the Patreon. There is many benefits a part of being a patron. You get exclusive access to a special Patreon Discord channel that you can talk more specifically with me, and I'm more active on that channel. You get shoutouts on my videos, and at the higher tiers, you can specifically request a video, and I will guarantee that it gets done within the month. And if you don't feel that you have the financial abilities to support me on Patreon, I would still appreciate if you check out our Discord channel. The community down there is definitely growing, and I'd like to have you there. It's a wonderful time, and I like to see all the different topics that people come up with, and it's a good time. So if you want to join the Discord, that'll be in the description as well. So after you get your start collecting boxes and your wildwoods, where do you go from here? I think that it is the best time to look at some heroes. So I've picked out 4 core heroes that I think you should consider, depending on what kind of playstyle you're looking for or just generally what you think is cool. So the 4 core heroes are the Warsong Revenant, I think is just an auto include. It's the best wizard that Sylvaneth has access to, and they provide unparalleled flexibility. And there is so much you can do with them between a Umbral Spell Portal combination with their unique spell, you can do a whole lot with them. Next up is the Arch Revenant. I personally don't take the Arch Revenant all that often, but that's just because I play a more magic focused list. Arch Revenant is great if you want Kurnoth Hunter spam or just a more martial heavy army because of their command ability to give a +1 attack. So really good for a more combat focused army. Drycha. Drycha is one of my favorite models ever. I've never been disappointed with Drycha. They are a wonderful, versatile damage dealer that you can kind of put in wherever and expect them to do very well. And then lastly, Alariel. Alariel is a little bit of an expensive purchase, but she is a fantastic centerpiece model. And in her current state, the more that I've been playing her, I kind of think she's auto-include. Alariel is so good right now. She feels amazing to play. So if you really like Alariel, I would say go for it. Just pull the trigger and get it. It's a fantastic model and a wonderful piece to play with. Um, and then Battleline. So in your core box, if you plan to run at 2,000 points, if you run your 30 Dryads as a block of 20, you still need 2 Battleline slots. So that's where these two come in. Tree Revenants are great to score certain battle tactics, and they keep your opponent on their toes because you have a teleport just whenever you want it. That is a very powerful tool tactically, and just to kind of mind game your opponent, force them to hold something back that would otherwise help them push forward. It's a real important tool to have. Having 1 or 2 of them, you can never really go wrong. And then Spite Revenants are the other one. Their best asset is that they are very cheap, and they work well with Drycha. I like Spite Revenants a lot. They don't really perform all that well often, just because they don't have any rend, and they are squishy as all heck. But that's more of a personal preference. I think Tree Revenants are great, and Spite Revenants are good because they're cheap. And then lastly, the pseudo elephant in the room is the Kurnoth Hunters. These guys are the current best unit in the Sylvaneth roster, and any variant you build will perform well. If you wanted to get very technical, Scythe Hunters are the best, but I don't think that you can go wrong with any of the 3. Including any number of Kurnoth Hunters in your army is going to drastically increase the army's performance. The more Kurnoth Hunters you include, the better your list is going to be, more likely than not. So definitely recommend getting as many Kurnoth Hunters as you want to put in the list. Well, that was a shortish video, but I think that it's a good place to start if you are looking at where to go with Start Collecting Sylvaneth. Sylvaneth is a wonderful army, and I hope more people kind of look at them past what others say that they're not that good and just dive into it. They have some fantastic models, beautiful sculpts, and a very unique playstyle that I don't think you can find anywhere else in the Games Workshop range, 40K or otherwise. So, if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like or a comment. If you like this type of content, consider subscribing. This has been the Wargrover, and I'll talk to you guys next time.